Hi and welcome back, Copic fans. This is Michelle Houghton here, and you are in for a treat today. I found this image from Penny Black. It is called, I believe, Pumpkin Truck. We'll double check. Yep, Pumpkin Truck. And I had to have it. I think many of you have seen the old rusted truck that I did from Tiddly Inks. And when I saw this truck with the pumpkins in the back, I absolutely could not resist. So I went ahead and got the stamp, and then I've got some colors picked out. I thought it'd be fun to do another kind of older looking truck, but I'm gonna attempt to do one that has kind of that teal or aqua kind of coloring to it. And so I've played around a little bit with the colors, and I think it's kind of a work in progress as usual. But I have that whole series of colors that I used on the rusted truck, and then I've added two blue greens. I've added a BG34 and a BG45. So we'll add those in the mix and see where we get. And of course, then in back, we've got these great big, that'll go to a beautiful orange pumpkins kind of rolling around the back. So that'll be a neat complementary color combination that'll, I think, really stand out and pop. So I am just gonna go to it. I will do my normal. I will speed up. I will list the colors on kind of, you'll see it up at the top of the screen. And then I will also talk you through what I'm doing. Remember, on YouTube, you can always slow that down. I'm sure my voice sounds ridiculous when you do that because it's going super slow, but I think it's worth it. I think it keeps our videos to a reasonable amount of time. And then if you need to, you have that ability to slow that back down if you need to see the coloring in more detail. So we're just gonna jump right in and do it. Have some fun. So I'm gonna start with the truck, and I am using the same colors that I've used in the past for rusted metal. Kind of a distressed look. This is a W1, and I'm going ahead and doing most of the body, actually all of the body of the truck. W3 is next, and I'm trying to add shading at this point. I'm not worried about color. I'm not worried about the actual rust. I'm truly just trying to create the shape of the truck itself. So that's that first layer of shading. W5 is next, and that's going to create the deeper shadowed areas. I'm playing with a light source from that back end because I feel like it's probably going to hit those pumpkins, since that's going to really be the pop of the image, even though I'm going to focus so much time on the truck. I'm going to go back and blend these. I'm not super concerned about them being really smooth because there's so much that's going to go on top of this. So my W3 comes back in, and then also my W1. So warm grays going over the body of the truck. Then my BG34 is going to go over the entire thing. The only place I avoided was that big rust spot on the fender, but the rest of it is going to get coated in that BG34. Doesn't have to be super thick. BG45 or 45 is going to come in and go into those darker areas to reinforce that shading with the blue-green. I added the G20 at this point because that's a color that I use in the rusted metal, but it really had no effect, so I would not do that again. E93 or E93 is next. It's going to start the rusted area, so I'm going to really focus in on edges. It's going to bleach some of those areas a little bit, or give a bleached look, and then E99 is where I'm really going to see the rust come in. I'm around the edges of the fenders, the corners of the the trim of the back, the doors. E93 to smooth that out just a little bit. W5 is what I'm going to start the tires with. And I'm realizing pretty quick I'm missing some color, so I'm going to have to go run get some more here in a minute. But C7 is next on the tires. Again, thinking about where that light source is. I'm not necessarily worried about getting them perfect. C9 is going to be the final color. W5 to smooth it out a little bit. And then I felt like it got a little too light, so C7 and W5 again on those tires to get them a little bit darker. C1 is what I'm going to come in and get some of those shiny metal portions in, and C3. So the mirror, the hubcaps. I did some of the interior of the truck. B quadruple 0 is what I'm going to hit that sky with. So where you see through the windows, it is going to be super pale. I don't even really need to fade it to white. E93 on the hubcaps and the bumper to add a little rust, and E99, E93 to smooth it out, and then C1 a little bit more to smooth that out one more time. I add a little bit of YR18. It looks like I've got a tail light just barely showing, and BG34 to frame it. Now I'm going in with some ground. E31 is what I'm going to start with. I'm keeping it pretty rough, and I actually am going to go back after this video and smooth this out because this portion did not turn out real nice. So I am going to include a photograph of the finished one. Y35 is going to start all of those pumpkins in the back of the truck, and the combination I'm using blends pretty easily, so I'm going to do all the pumpkins at once. Remember, you can always pick out a section, just do one or even two. YR14 or YR14 is what I'm going to add my first layer of shading with. I'm going right into the creases or kind of the seams along the pumpkins, thinking about trying to keep it darker toward the bed of the truck. YR24 or YR24 is next. Those are great pumpkin colors, real earthy versions of the YR, especially that 24. YR18 is really going to take them to that orange that we want, that deep, rich orange that we think of in terms of pumpkins. So hitting all those darkest areas and those right into those deep seams on some of those pumpkins, and some of where that shading is already happening because of that stamp. I'm going to skip the YR24 and go back to YR14 to do some blending, and then right all the way back to my Y35 or Y35. That is such a warm yellow that it's a perfect base for pumpkins. A little bit of E31 for the stems, E35 to add a little bit more, and I ended up adding a little more in the interior. One pumpkin truck all finished up. We've got some unique color combinations on here, and I did discover some things along the way. Obviously, I had to kind of change up some game plans when I found other things in the image that I hadn't seen originally, with like tail lights and the interior of the car I really hadn't thought of ahead of time. So I may do what I already had pulled out on my table, but those are things you could kind of pre-plan. I kept the ground really rough, and I did add a little bit of blue on the sky, which is going to be really hard to see. It's going to probably blow out. It's a B quadruple 0, so it's very, very light. But I'm pleased with the end result, because this is really what I was looking for, was this bright pop between this aqua and that orange. So I'm really happy with the results, and I actually really like the combo of the rust on the aqua truck. I think that turned out really well. So eventually I might come back and do a little more with the ground so it's not quite so rough against this nice image. But other than that, I hope this at least gives you a starting point, and certainly a really fun image to color. And definitely could be used for fall and for some fun masculine images, but Halloween and fall as well. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope you have a happy, colorful week.